So last night I went to a midnight launch for the Switch 2 at my local GameStop. I brought a vintage camera, I filmed the whole thing, I stood in line with other hopeful nerds thinking this time maybe Nintendo won't fumble the bag. And now that I'm home,
this is pretty cool, huh?
I want to be fair. The Switch 2 does feel good in hands. Like, actually good. The Joy-Cons feel like they were designed by someone who has seen adult hands before, and I swear the sticks have more range now. I finally might be able to play shooters on this thing without it feeling like a biblical punishment. And one of the first games I booted up was Fortnite. And before you laugh, yes, I'm serious. I have crazy nostalgia for Switch Fortnite because that's just where I used to play it on. I didn't have a console or a PC that could run it, so I just Switch maxed in the meantime. I did convert to PC later down the line because the updates just kept making the game run worse and worse, but when I saw a graphical update was coming to the Switch 2, I knew I at least needed to give it a whirl for old time's sake. And when I launched it, it hit me. This is how the game should have always fucking ran. It was smooth, sharp, playable, not whatever calculator port we tolerated back in 2018. And that's my core issue with the Switch 2. It's too little and it's too late. Mario Kart is the only real exclusive at launch, plus it's $80. And look, I bought the Mario Kart bundle. It's goated with the sauce. It's probably the prettiest Nintendo game I've seen in a long while, and the new kart tech is mind-blowing. If you're a Mario Kart head, this thing is more than likely going triple platinum in your house. But dude, if you're not, there is nothing else exclusive. There is no killer app, no Breath of the Wild moment, and that makes this launch feel particularly hollow. However, I also bought the Switch 2 hoping I could revisit some older games and see if they got any updates. Fine, I'll fucking talk about it. I gave Tears of the Kingdom a pretty harsh video review when it dropped in 2023, not just because of gameplay reasons, though I had those, but also because it ran like absolute dog shit. And now on the Switch 2, it runs way better, but it is locked behind a $10 paywall. And it just sort of makes me mad because, once again, this is just what we should have gotten from the jump. Nintendo seems to think that people complain about graphics because they're shallow, that people who are begging Nintendo to either optimize their games or upgrade their hardware are just being bad faith and not properly engaging with the game. And it's a mindset that makes sense for Nintendo considering their gameplay first philosophy, but it's particularly frustrating here because it's so not about that. It's about how your game feels. If it runs like shit, I'm not going to enjoy it, even if it's technically well designed. Ask anybody who has played Pokemon Scarlet or Violet. And I genuinely believe Nintendo thinks these new graphics justify the price hikes. I don't know why Nintendo thinks they're being so fucking innovative by making their new AAA game look like how a AAA game is supposed to look. Because if that's the case, maybe they should stop funneling all their resources into Game Freak. The Pokemon games have been slop for years, let's be so fucking real. They barely run, they never innovate, and they're clearly designed to milk a cash cow that's been on life support since the DS era. It's absolutely pathetic. And it's wild to me that the highest grossing franchise on the planet still puts out games that feel like fucking fan projects. They're already making billions of dollars. I feel like the least they could do is act like it. So, real talk, who's this thing actually for? Unless you're a YouTuber or somebody who is borderline obsessed with Nintendo, there are just better ways to spend your money. For $500, you could build a PC, mod your old games, emulate everything, and play actual current gen titles. Actually, a few weeks ago before the Switch 2 launched, I bought a modded Wii off of Facebook Marketplace for $80, and I think it's one of the best purchases I've ever made. It came loaded with damn near every GameCube, Wii, N64 game you can imagine, and it was stupid easy to set up. Since then, I've been bringing it to friends' houses, playing Wii Sports with the homies, and just having a blast revisiting old Nintendo titles. And I think that's the core of all of this. I still love Nintendo. I know eventually they'll do something that spins the narrative positively. They always do. It's just a shame that a majority of their games are now locked behind steep price tags or awkward hardware. If you're not financially well off, your options are pretty limited. And let's be blunt, we're in a recession. If you want my advice, unless there's a game on here you're absolutely tweaking for, I'd say skip out on the Switch 2, at least for now. Buy a modded Wii, buy a bomb, buy a Steam Deck, I don't give a shit. And even if you just think you only want to play third-party games or indie games, I have news for you. It's really hard to go back to the Switch for any third-party game after owning a Steam Deck. Yes, we're making the Nintendo Switch video about the Steam Deck. Shut up! Back in the Switch 1 era, it was genuinely mind-blowing to play something like The Witcher 3 or Skyrim on the Switch. The idea of fitting such a huge game like The Witcher 3 onto a tiny cartridge was wild. Even indie games like Celeste and Hollow Knight got a shit ton of attention for simply having their games on a portable console, something that before had never been done. But after buying a Steam Deck in 2023, my entire mindset around portable gaming is shifted. You're telling me I don't have to wait for Nintendo to greenlight some overpriced shitty port that runs like garbage? I can just play the game, tweak the settings, and optimize it myself? Hell yes. The Switch 1 is basically still running on Xbox 360 hardware. The third-party games that do come over to it usually run like dog poop, and you have zero control to improve the experience. If I'm playing an indie game or just a third-party game in general, I'm sorry, but I'm playing it on a Steam Deck. It's more versatile, smoother, and real talk, it's significantly cheaper than buying a Switch 2. The base model starts at $300, which can come down pretty easily if you don't mind buying secondhand. I literally opened up Facebook Marketplace this morning and found one for $150. Nintendo isn't some scrappy underdog anymore. They're a billion-dollar giant that chooses to underdeliver every single time. And no matter how charming their games are, no matter how shiny the hardware looks under retail lighting, if they're just gonna keep charging more while offering less, then maybe it's time we stop showing up just because it has a Nintendo logo on the box. I'm still gonna make a video on the Duskbloods when that comes out, and possibly the DK game if I have anything fun to say about it, but I can't sit here and pretend this was a satisfying purchase. This should have felt like a moment, a big leap, a promise for the next 5 years to come. Instead, it felt like an apology, and it's one I'm tired of accepting. I want to give a quick shout out to DarkFox71 on Patreon. I appreciate the support a shit ton. If you want to see your name at the end of one of my videos too, then please check out the Patreon and subscribe. I'll see you later.